So in this clip, we're going to show you how to create cloud VMs within your Cartika control panel. So the first thing you need to do is order the appropriate account that you would like, whether that's cloud VMs in Canada or the US, or in this case, what we ordered was a reseller cloud package in Canada. And the reason we did this is so in the future we can show you how to resell these through your reseller command layer or your own host build install, as it were. So once a package is ordered and activated, you can see it here on your main screen or under your services tab. In this case, we're going to manage the reseller cloud service. You can see here there's no servers created yet. In our available resource pool, we have the following resources available, which you can grow your pool or decrease the size of your pool depending on your needs. And you can create as many virtual machines as required within this resource pool. So in this case, we're going to create 2 VMs. The process is really straightforward. We're going to call this one SSD test 1. We'll make it a basic CentOS 5.9. Obviously, we have various different templates available. We might as well make it a newer version of CentOS 6.3. I'm just going to generate a random password. And in this case, I'm going to make them with a gig of RAM each, so 1024 megs of RAM, 1 CPU core. I'll make it 25 gigs of disk. I'll make the disk swap a gig. I'm going to press create. So as this virtual machine is creating and booting up, you can see it's in a pending status. I'm going to add the second server. I'm going to call this one SSD test 2. And again, in this instance, we created a resource pool in SSD. You could have easily created it on SATA or on SAS in the US or in Canada. This one's obviously in Canada. Again, I'm going to do CentOS 6.3. I'm going to create a generic password. RAM, there's 1024 megs left in our pool. There's 1 CPU core left in the pool. I'm going to decrease this a bit and keep some disk in our pool. And disk swap, I'm going to leave at 1 gig. And you can see here our resource count is going to keep dropping to what's available. And of course, we can always go and increase limits and create more VMs or resize existing VMs. So I'm going to create this virtual machine. You can see at this point the first virtual machine that we started creating is already done and ready to go, and it's live. So while the second one's creating, what I'm going to show you here is how some networking would work on this instance. For example, let's say you wanted to connect using the LAN network. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the interfaces. ETH0 will be the public facing network port, and we're going to create an ETH1 for a LAN facing network port. You can see in this case that we're going to choose the private network here. We're going to make it 100 megs a second. The other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to edit this default port. I'm going to edit that up to 100 megs. I'm going to assign a new IP address. Interface, I did make a typo here. I'd rather have had that say ETH1. But this will work as well. And I'm going to assign a LAN IP to it, one from the available pool. Okay, and I'm actually going to edit this interface now because I don't like that nomenclature here. So I'm going to label it to ETH1. I'm going to save. What I'm going to do now is rebuild my network because I've made several changes here and I want to make sure the configs and everything post appropriately, which will restart my VM. So now if I wanted to connect both my VMs over this LAN network, I'd go to SSD2, which is now finished building, and SSD test 1 is now rebuilding the network, hence rebooting. So I'm going to go SSD test 2. I'm going to assign a new interface called ETH1 for the LAN. I'm going to make it private. I'm going to make it 100 megs a second. Now I'm going to add an IP to ETH1 just like I did on the previous VM. ETH1. I'm going to take the next IP available in the pool. And just for consistency's sake, I'm going to rebuild the network. So as you can see, this one's rebuilding the network currently. This one's completed. You can see the private IPs are assigned. You can now communicate over the LAN network with your two VMs. Now each VM could be on a different storage pool. As long as we're within the same facility, they can speak over the LAN network. Finally, I'm going to go into storage. And the auto backup feature within this interface is really a snapshot feature. So you can snapshot and template your VM. You can do this in an automatic manner, or you can do it on demand by pressing the backup icon here. The other thing you can do from here is you can manage your disks and create new disks. So you could either expand your primary disk as long as you have enough resources in your resource pool. And in this case, we've got an extra, I think it's 5 gigs. There we go, 8 gigs. Or you can purchase additional disk and add a new disk to your VM here. Lastly, on the usage tab, you'll be able to view graphs of various functions, whether it's CPU, network, or disk utilization. Because it's a new VM with new activity, you're not seeing much, plus this is updated hourly. So in an hour here, you'll probably see the reads and the writes and the CPU usage from the simple OS load that we did initially. If I go back to the all servers, you can see they're both online now. They both have a LAN network connected. They're both sized at 26 gig in total. It's 25 gig primary and 1 gig of swap. They both have a gig of memory. And now at this point, if we want to resize these VMs or we want to create yet a new VM, we can go to upgrade, downgrade resources, purchase the additional resources we need, whether that's IPs, snapshot template disk space, SSD disk space, CPU or RAM, and then either create new VMs with those resources or apply those resources to existing VMs.